Okay. I have everything started on YouTube and recording, so we're good to start. And you want to start with Public Works, which is what I have on there first anyway. So manager's update, usually I would report on what Three Rivers Wet Weather has sent us. I don't have anything.
Sorry for interrupting. Jack just joined us. I'm watching the participant list. So now only Cecil and Bill Burley are missing.
Okay. So anyway, I don't have any report because I did not get an update from Three Rivers Wet Weather yet. So whenever I get that, assuming I get it at the committee, the whole meeting or whatever, I will pass that on to you. But so I don't have any report for Public Works.
I guess, Angelo, do you want to run the Public Works since Cecil is not? Or Bob, one of you guys?
Okay, do we have Mr. Gilliland? Would you give us an engineer's report, please?
Hi, Cecil. Yes, it's a Zoom meeting and you should have received a link. Uh-huh.
Patty, you need to mute
Patty,
yourself.
mute
Patty.
yourself, please.
I'm on the phone with Cecil. He's having trouble getting in. The link isn't working.
I can mute her.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have them on the phone. They're gonna.
Mr. Gilliland,
Thank you.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Okay. First item is the MS4 detention pond project that's behind the Park and Ride on Avenue B. Work is in progress. I would say they're about 50% complete on that project. Work's progressing smoothly. The Fall Run Interceptor Sewer Repair Project, that's the one Alcosan's going to take over, is about 75% complete and should be done by the end of July. The Ashley Courts Sanitary Sewer, where they were going to cut the roots out and televise it, that has not been started. PennDOT's culvert work is interfering at the bottom of the job, so that's not able to be started yet. Hopefully they'll be out of that area soon, switched over, and we'll be able to start that project. The 2022 paving has been delayed until early August due to the gas company working on Woodside Road. I have a meeting with the gas company on Thursday morning to go over their work there and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. We'll be doing the same thing there that we did on Avenue F. The gas company will do the binder, and they will reimburse the borough for the cost of the wearing surface on top of their trench. So we'll be measuring their trench and making sure that the square yardage is accurate so that we can get our fair amount of money back from them for that project. The last item is a project that has been on the books for a couple of years and it keeps getting put off. Jim Thiedlecker suggested we bring it up again. There's a stream that runs along Watt Lane, along the trail part of Watt Lane. The trail goes to the high school. And at some point it enters a pipe that carries it all the way to Fall Run. The first couple sections of pipe are deteriorated and there is no head wall. So whenever it floods, a lot of debris collects at that point and could theoretically, and I guess has in the past, the brush has accumulated and the stream jumps its banks because of that. So what we planned on doing was putting in a concrete head wall, replacing or getting rid of the bad pipe, putting in a concrete head wall and what we call a trash rack, which is a metal rack that will capture debris. It's something that Public Works will be able to access once they build that road. I don't know if you guys were on council last year, you don't remember. At the end of the year, council authorized building it's not a road really, it's an access road from Braddock Road, right in the dip before the high school entrance, down to this area. And that road would be used for maintenance for this trash rack so we can keep it clean and keep the debris out of the stream. At this time, it is in your budget, the sewer budget for this year, because it has been in the past years too, but every year something came up emergency wise and the money was used somewhere else. So since nothing's come up this year, We're asking permission to begin design and advertise for bids and get that project going. So is that okay with the
Bill,
commit? Yes,
I'm sorry, I have a question, please.
sure.
I noticed there's a really big pile on Braddock Road where you mentioned like now there's a lot of grass around it, like,
Yes,
is
that's,
that part of this or?
yes, that's what's going to, Public Works is going to build a road from, we own the property where that's dumped. And there's a walking trail there now. The walking trail has steps which are not ADA accessible. So the plan is to spread that milled asphalt that's dumped there and create a road. It would serve two purposes. It would be the access road for maintenance of this trash rack. And at the same time, it would be ADA accessible. It would make the walking trail ADA accessible because it would bypass the steps that are there along the edge of our property.
Is
So
that,
yes, that's where it is.
is that, I hate to ask this, but is this something Public Works would be, I mean, putting that material down? There's like just a big pile right there.
Yeah, Public Work, we laid it out last November, maybe.
Mhm.
I remember it was cold, but there wasn't snow on the ground yet. We're gonna avoid trees and kind of zigzag. There's a little bit of a hill there. That's where the steps are. And we're gonna kind of make an S curve out of that and go around trees and make it a more even slope to get down there. But yes, that is something that Public Works is able to do. Jim, I don't think is on tonight. He had surgery today. But yeah, he
He's
had
here.
done.
Jim is here.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Jim, you have to unmute yourself though if you're going to talk.
Jim,
Yeah, I'm here.
the question Barb had is Public Works able to build that road from Braddock Road down to the Watt Lane, where we're gonna put that head wall?
Yes, we're gonna build the road and get it ready so that the contractor can do the head wall. But yes, we are gonna do that part and put that in, yes.
Wow, would we need to have that complete before we ask for bids, Mr. Gilliland?
No, that can be done anytime, because once we get bids, say you authorize it, say the committee authorizes it tonight, we'll begin design. That'll take a few weeks. Advertising takes about 3 weeks, and then we'd have to wait for the next regular business meeting or council, which would probably be the August meeting. No, yeah, the August meeting. So award the bids, then it takes about a month to get contracts signed and insurance papers filed and bonds in place. So we probably aren't looking till September to start actual construction, which gives Jim some time to get his crew to build that road. It shouldn't take too awfully long.
Well, Mr. Bioki, do you have any comments on this?
The only thing I would comment is, can we get a time frame on when we can get the road done? Because I know there's a lot of other projects that are on the list as well. So if we can get a, firm date when it would start and when it would be completed, I think that would be helpful.
Well,
Jim?
I'm not expecting that tonight, but I'm just saying we should
Yeah,
get
Jim,
a date.
Jim would be able to provide that. You still
Yeah,
on
I
there,
have-
Jim?
Yeah, I'm here. We have to, I gotta finish up my catch basins for the paving program. And then I've got some road patching I want to do here. And then we'll be starting on that. But I don't have an exact time frame yet. I maybe in about 3 weeks or so, I might have a better time.
well, I would like, I don't know what to do since Cecil isn't here, but I would certainly like to get bids. Mr. Bioki?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that can happen, the sooner the better, sure.
Yeah, I would just need the committee's okay to do that. It doesn't have to go for a full vote of council.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay,
with it.
would you please do that then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Okay, oh, here's Cecil. Cecil, we started the Public Works. It's on to the foreman's report right now. I think you're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is it okay for me to go ahead with the foreman's report?
Please go ahead.
Okay, I got my list of projects here for July. And if anybody has any questions, please ask. The second thing that I have is that we got the new snow agreement through Allegheny County. And I think Steve sent all you guys out, and it's a renewal contract. I think it's for 3 years. And if anybody's had any questions, it's just for Braddock Road from Ardmore up to Brenton, and then just the very bottom section of Yost Boulevard by the shopping centers there.
Can I chime in? Is it okay if I speak for a moment? Am I
Yeah, go
muted?
ahead, Steve.
Okay, two things on your agenda. I put just the cost figures for the new agreement, and I also added the cost figures for the agreement that's expiring, just so you have something to compare. Essentially, Allegheny County would allow you to do two things: say no, or add or subtract a road. They really don't negotiate any of this, at least not my experience. That's correct, Jim. You haven't experienced any negotiation with them in the past, I assume, have you?
No.
Yeah,
And
so it's either you accept the agreement as it is, you make a change by adding or subtracting a road, and the only road I could think that you would add would be Greensburg Pike, which would probably be a mistake. And or you just say no. But you really don't have much choice other than that. So
yeah, can I just say one more thing? We're on both of these roads all the time to get to certain other roads on our borough. So we use them a good bit. That's all I really have. Unless anybody has questions for me.
Can I say something? I just want to do what Jimmy just said. Basically, if you're using the road, it's beneficial for us to have them properly salted because we have our salt trucks have to use them anyway. So that's what I think what he meant to say. So I think we should go ahead and keep that same agreement in place.
yeah, you did get it in advance in an email from me last week, but if you need time to look at it, they don't need it signed off on until the end of September, but you do need to vote on accepting it or rejecting it, I guess, too, at whatever meeting you want to do. It could be this month if you don't think you need to review, or August or September's meeting if you want to review. That's entirely up to you folks.
Can we make that vote in the August meeting?
Sure, yes. If you'd
Does
like,
anyone have any objection to that?
No.
No,
Mr. Watkins, and I would put this on as a reminder for the August Public Works Committee meeting, just so you have it in case you want to discuss it again.
Sure.
Can I just say one more
I have
thing?
a question. So go ahead.
Yeah, we don't have any desire to take on Greensburg Pike because that involves, like 4 communities. But everybody knows how bad Greensburg Pike gets. And that's what would happen with Braddock Road and Yost Boulevard here. Because the same truck that does that would be doing that for Allegheny County.
Okay, I have a question.
May I ask a question?
Cecil, do you want to, is it either Patty or Mr. Lawrence, I believe, has a question?
I
Yeah.
think Patty had a question first. Jack will come to you next.
Okay, I just wanted to inquire about whether we have in fact completed the Alcoasand sewer trunk line for our merger and adopted the resolution. I thought we had. But when I was at the Alcoasand advisory meeting last week, we are not on the list that they
Yeah.
put of communities that have ratified. Are we still holding
It's,
something?
no, it's done. They didn't get the agenda I sent them in May. I just resent it this week. I have to get the agreement signed and send that to them. They're okay. They know it's not a
Okay.
problem.
All right, so we did finish it. All right, I thought we had. I just wasn't seeing it
Yeah,
on.
that's
their
a
record.
total, that's a different item from the snow agreement, but yes, yeah, that's all taken care
I
of.
thought we were finished with that. I'm sorry.
Jack, do you have your question?
Just one question. I'm not clear. From Braddock up to, from Ardmore, Route 30 up to Braddock and Greensburg Pike, is that all county covered for snow removal, or is that us?
No, just Ardmore to Brenton. The Braddock section from
So-
Ardmore to Brenton. The other stuff,
So-
the other part is ours.
It
From
is
Ard-
ours, okay.
Ardmore to Greensburg Pike is the boroughs. Ardmore to Brenton is county.
County, okay, thank you. Thanks.
Did you get the agenda, Mr. Watkins?
I am trying to pull it up as we speak.
Okay, because the
So,
next
uh,
committee is yours coming up.
All right.
Committee report.
Could we go to another committee and then come back to Public Works?
Actually,
Would that be
it just says
possible?
If you want, I
just-
can,
alternatives to road evaluation. Or
I
maybe
can-
share it, yeah.
I can put the agenda on the screen if that helps.
All right.
Just give me a second here. Everybody see that? There's the agenda.
We
We
can
just
see.
finished foreman report, and this is the committee business report is the last section.
All right. I know there are some questions about the alternatives to how we evaluate the roads. Angelo, Barb, you seem to have the most interest in that. Would you like to discuss that at this point?
I think we need to revisit that. You might want to push that to our next meeting. Just to take a look at that program that's available. We'd have to purchase it, of course, but I think we need a little more time to look at that.
Do you have an estimate on the purchase price?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, Steve, can we move that to our next meeting, please?
Sure, I'll do that. No problem.
Thank you. In terms of a review of emergency services.
You would talk to us about, Jim and I about that, Mr. Watkins. I didn't know if you wanted to continue a discussion with that or not.
One of the things, for those of you who weren't here, I had a meeting with Jimmy Thielacker and Steve Morris. And we talked about reviewing the different emergency services. Since then, we discovered that there is an emergency manual, a booklet that outlines everything that we should be doing in terms of emergencies. What I will try to do is get that out to everyone so they can review it and see if they have any questions and any additional feedback or edits, deletes, or whatever. Okay, does anyone have any questions on that?
I do.
Yes, go ahead, Patty.
We are invited into a grant proposal for community resilience and renewable energy. And one of the resilience areas involves emergency response, especially to landslides, floods, energy equipment failure, or other kinds of emergencies. We are invited to file a full proposal by July 4. Our partners in this are Siemens, who are serving as a principal investigator, the city of Binghamton, New York, Forest Hills, and the University of Columbia, who is doing the model. They're developing some metrics, and they wanted to engage our stakeholders, who would be all of our emergency management services and personnel. I spoke to Chief Williams about it a little bit at the park yesterday, but we're going to need to know whether they would be willing to engage in this. We have to provide no money, just information and willingness to participate in stakeholder groups if we get the grant. And then we will end up with a model for resilience and emergency management services metrics in our town that we can use and that will also be propagated nationwide. Steve has a hand up.
Go ahead, Steve.
Just to complete that, Keith Morris is our emergency management coordinator, so he should be engaged.
Yeah.
And realize, of course, that the booklet that Mr. Walker is talking about is one that was approved by council a few years back. It was updated by Keith, and it folds nicely into the county's plan. It's supposed to be a joint effort, essentially, when you do these things. So just realize anything you're looking at there would have to involve talking to the county as well, probably.
I would like to send
So-
all of those plans to the grant people so that they can include the relevant components into the application, because those are strengths to us that we already have such plans in place. I just wanted you to be aware of it and aware that I'm going to be talking to all those stakeholders in the next few days to see if they would be willing to participate in this process with us. It's kind of exciting to be, receiving these kinds of intense resources from a national source.
Very exciting.
So Jimmy, I'm going to need a fire chief letter. I already talked to Chuck Williams. I'll talk to Keith Morse. Who else? Anybody else? We'll need one from the council, obviously, which I was going to ask for at committee of the whole.
Possibly Woodland Hills EMS,
Yeah, Woodland Hills EMS maybe.
and Rick Colella is fire chief.
He's away at the Outer Banks, I understand. So can Jimmy sign for him?
That's up to the fire department. I don't know.
Okay.
I assume he could, but I don't know.
Is he, okay, I'll talk to him.
Okay, I'm going to assume that whatever the outcome is, that we will be able to combine
Yeah.
Our existing doctrine with whatever recommendations they have. That shouldn't be too difficult.
Yep.
But thank you so much for bringing that up, Patty. I really appreciate that. That's great. Do we need to vote to proceed with that grant?
This is just filing for a complete proposal. I don't think we need to vote on this at this point. We are not obligating any money, only agreement to participate in stakeholder meetings and provide information. So that would all be counted as in kind, but we aren't required to contribute any funds as a match to this project. So we're, as a case study community, we aren't contributing any money to it.
Steve, do you think it would be okay for us to just get a voice vote to proceed with this?
Well, you can if you want, but it's up to you. I mean, it's just the way she's describing it, doesn't sound like you need to do that at this stage. It's to propose it.
Okay,
So, I mean,
All
I
right.
would think if the proposal is accepted, then you probably would want to vote just to make it formal.
okay. All right.
Yeah, if we are successful in receiving the grant award, then we'll have to sign the grant award and, there will be, commitments of time and agreement to do the reporting and so on and so forth, but we're not anywhere near there yet.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Patty. Next in our committee report is this issue of institutional knowledge of the employees. Let me share this with you. My brother-in-law has a brother-in-law who is a councilman in upstate New York. And he was surprised because the gentleman retired and he happened to be in public works. And in their town, all of the shutoffs for the water system were actually under paved streets. They were not marked. He was the only one that knew. So I thought that one of the things that would be very, very beneficial for our borough is if we develop some type of system to retain the institutional knowledge that that the wonderful employees that we've been blessed to have possess. So I'm not exactly sure on the best way to do that. I don't know if there is a software program or if we just write it down. I'm open for suggestions.
Mr. Watkins, I believe we spoke about Asset Panda some time ago, and that could be helpful in something like this, not only to inventory purchases, but also perhaps to record when certain things were accomplished, projects, something like that, and they would help with this, I believe.
Okay. Yes, Steve.
I agree with that. Also, in the past, when we've done something like this in the office, for example, we took the time to had everybody write down essentially, what they were doing and depending on the issue, what their particular knowledge of something was, whether it be a software package or what have you. And we kept that so we could use that in the future. Now what we do is cross-train in the office. I know Jimmy does some of that down at the Borough Building, but it probably would make sense to have the engineer involved, since they do keep a lot of the records that you're talking about for us and update it. It would also be a part of our existing geographic information system, which I've spoke to Mr. Gillen and Ms. Brandhover about a week ago or so, about the fact that we need to update that. We already have a GIS system. We're required to anyway because of the whole sewer system thing. And you can add an awful lot of different things onto that as far as locations of things like water shutoffs, for example, although that may or may not be us. That may be the water authority. I don't know. But regardless, I spoke to them about the fact that we need to update that. What I have is old, and what they should have is newer. I don't know how new it is, but that would be a kind of a joint effort, I think, between our foreman and the engineer as well. At least as a start. I can't show the GIS right now. I don't have it up. But if you saw it, it would show all of our streets, all of our sewers, storm sewers. And you could add a number of different things to it. In some cases, that could already be part of the external asset management stuff around the borough. You could probably add signs to it and things like that. Dave or Ms. Brandhover may know more about it than I do as far as the full use of it. But if you use it like other communities do, you can put an awful lot of information on that. We use one of the best GIS systems called ArcView, and they're run by a company called Esri, ESRI. I forget what that stands for, but we do already have that. We have access to it ourselves as well as through our engineer. So that would be one other place you could make sure stuff like that was placed.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead,
Please.
Laura.
I was just going through this with one of my guys the other day. Now there's an app that goes along with all of that. So anybody that has access to it can see the app and see anything out in Forest Hills, roads, water lines, sewer lines, manholes. You put a picture of it in there when it was installed, any information that you want, and whoever has like administrative rights to it can update it in the field with that exact GPS point as things are changing. And then anybody can see it on their phone or iPad, internet, wherever. So it's updated like in real time as stuff's happening in the field. It's actually pretty nice. But you'd have to get it set up from what you have on the computer, what we have back in our office that you need to we need to give you the updated version of. It would have to be updated to the app, but it's actually pretty nice because anybody can see anything all the time.
Thank you for that. Steve, suppose I stop by and take a look at the software package that we have, and
Sure.
I'll also Miss is that Lisa?
Laura Brandhoover.
Laura, would you be able to somehow do you know the name of the program, the app?
It's through ArcView. It's an ArcGIS app.
Okay.
I can send Steve over the information for it. You'd have to look
Sure.
at, like, I think like Penn Township has it, and you can go on and see all of their information, where all their stuff
All right.
is, and see if that's something that you would be interested in doing there or not.
When I go to that
Alright.
annual conference that I go to, the ICMA conference, which is coming up in September, ArcView has a huge display there. They have, as one of the vendors, one of the largest areas. So that's all. I've talked to them in the past about doing it. The problem always has been, how much information do we need as the community the size that we are? And because it does, cost money to add these packages, but they have a number of different packages. At one time, I had looked at a public works package for us, but I kind of abandoned it because at the time, this is about 4 or 5 years ago, there wasn't support from council to do that. But if that's what you're looking at and concerned about, this would certainly answer one of those questions.
Okay. Well, just because he talked about water shutoffs, that's not the only aspect of institutional knowledge. A very, very different example would be the road that I live on. It's a private lane, but the borough plows the roads. A lot of people might want to complain about that, and I'm sure at some point the boroughs had complaints because they see borough trucks plowing the snow on private roads. After talking with Jimmy, he explained to me that these are what's called paper streets or paper roads, and that the borough plows them not to do favors for elected officials or for the people that live on the streets, but it's just a safety issue. If there is a fire or if you have to get an ambulance to one of the homes on the street and there's 2 feet of snow, it's just not going to happen. So it also involves things like that in terms of this great, big, huge institutional knowledge of employees.
Yeah. Mr. Watkins,
Go ahead.
you can put almost any record, including something like that, on ArcView.
Okay.
You can put locations of stop signs, locations of one-way signs. You can put just about anything you want on ArcView. It's just a
All right.
question of adding the package to it. Yeah. And
If
you need to understand how to do it. I had some minimal training about 12 years ago. We got the package, maybe it was 15 years ago. We got the package for free. I went to Penn State for a day and a half of training just to get it started, but it's so far beyond what I learned back then by now that I wouldn't be comfortable doing it. But our engineer could probably help us, and it wouldn't necessarily be a problem engaging Esri and ArcView to assist with that as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Watkins.
For as far as was that you, Steve? Was there something else you wanted to add?
No, that was, I think, Jack. I think.
Okay, Jack.
Yes, if I may, I'm not in this committee, so I tread carefully here. I think we're going across a lot of different areas that aren't all connected. When you speak of institutional knowledge, that could go to our HR committee and the documentation that supports and explains what every person in the borough is doing. But it seems to be going across a lot of different areas, and I think we ought to slow down a little bit. And I would actually ask the President Council to look at this, because the things that we've discussed in the last 5 minutes cross so many boundaries of different committees, and some of them are they concern me that we are even discussing this in public. And I would ask the President Council to say where we can break these things apart and push them into appropriate committee review, not just randomly discuss them tonight. I don't think this is a positive approach tonight.
I mean, it started out with public works because of water shutoffs, but I think you're right. It's getting bigger and bigger. I think it should be more like a long-term project, or maybe we can keep it under the committee of the whole for everyone.
Okay.
Because
yeah,
because
we're talking.
It's not just public works. It's like everything, public safety. It's pretty much everything. So I see your point.
Yeah, I think we ought to break it into pieces and be very careful how we approach it.
But I like the idea of using software for all that stuff.
Yeah, there's wonderful ideas tonight. We just need to be judicious in how we approach these things.
All right, that's fine. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Sure. Next is the Chalfont agreement. It was my understanding that when we talked about this, and there was a meeting with President Erbaldinger, Angelo, and Barb, and myself, and I was under the impression that what we had agreed on was, say, a 5% increase to try to keep pace with inflation, and that we were going to renew the contract. So is there uncertainty?
Can I say something? I think we also agreed there's those services which are not really public works related, like, they have an issue and they ask us if we can help to fix something in buildings and things. I think that whole paragraph we wanted to remove. And we also wanted to double check our rates if they still make sense. Besides the if we have a 5% raise, that our rates are not totally out of whack. So I think we agreed to remove that other services and to investigate if our rates still make sense. But otherwise, you're correct. We wanted to keep the agreement in place and do like a modest increase.
I also would like to get information on the wear and tear of our vehicles that go over there, including, are we depreciating them? I mean, we have the total cost of the snow removal and trucks that go there. So I just think that that's something we should be talking about and looking at.
I believe when we did that agreement, those were built into the rates. So pretty much we compared us against commercial snow plowing people. How much do they charge for their equipment? So it should be included in the rate of those equipments. And again, your question is a good one. Is our rate still competitive? Does it still make sense? Yes, but it is supposed to be built in. We just have to make sure that our rate is not out of whack.
I don't believe that was added in. I thought we were going pretty much on salaries, but
no, we had rates for equipment and people. Obviously, it's different types of equipment.
I think it is a weighted number where there is an allocation for the depreciation in fuel and use on the vehicle, but Steve Morris could check that for sure.
Can
I thought it was a weighted number though.
Can I show you at least part of what I sent out to people earlier, this spreadsheet, which I hope you can see? Am I showing the spreadsheet? I can't tell.
yes.
Yes, it's on the screen.
Okay, I just looked at the last 4 years, and the total hours that we spent over there, including overtime hours. And I'm just kind of running that through with my mouse pointer right now. And I'm using the current rate for maintenance man 2. I'm not going back to 2018 and putting that rate in. It would have been lower. So the current rate for maintenance man 2, which is about the highest level of person that could go over there, except for maybe our head groundskeeper. Okay. And looking at how much. And so if you look at that rate, the total for regular and overtime for each year is in this column that we would have paid out. This is how much you're getting each year in the contract fee though. So you're paying out in wages, for example, $20,000 for 2018, but you're getting back 62,000. This year you're paying out, or I'm sorry, 2021, you paid out 17,500. You got back 69,454. Now I didn't have the time. I don't know exactly how. Barb and I have been talking about how to maybe go back and look at vehicles and equipment and lawnmowers and a
I
wrench and
think those
stuff
are
like that.
included. We have a different rate for snow plowing versus normal maintenance, normal public works work.
Right. We have a
different-
different rate from the point of view of overtime. But you know, the other rate's pretty constant. So, I mean, this is, I'm just comparing, again, all I'm showing you is actual salary for a current employee, maintenance man 2, not showing you the rate we're multiplying out whenever we send it to Chalfont. I'm showing you how much we would pay a maintenance man 2 at the current rate of $30.20 an hour, or time and a half, overtime $30.20 plus a half here. That's all I'm showing you. I'm not looking at the Chalfont, because this is how much our actual cost would be if we had the $30.20 rate spread out over all 4 years.
Mhm.
And it's not, it's only spread out this year. The other years are lower than $30.20. Okay. So what I'm saying is that we would have spent a total personnel wise rate of, based on these hours, of 17,583, for example, in 2021, yet we were taking in $69,454. Again, just looking at the rate we're actually paying our employee, not looking at what you have in Chalfont or anything like that, just looking at how much we would be paying them for this rate.
Yes, but we're also charging for gas, salt. There's a lot of other factors that go into that fee.
We get reimbursed for salt. Jimmy, are you still on here? Jimmy,
Yes, I'm here.
don't we get reimbursed by Chalfont for salt?
Yes, that is correct. We bill them by the ton for salt, and then also some anti-skid in some of their slag alleys.
So again, I'm not saying this includes vehicles or anything like that. I'm just trying to show you that personnel costs are well covered, and there's a large amount of money after that. I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, I'm going brain dead here. $50,000 more you're getting in than what you're paying out in personnel.
Jimmy, we also have an equipment rate, I think, if I remember right. I don't have the agreement in front of me. Don't we have an equipment rate as well? Heavy duty equipment and light duty equipment? I'm pretty sure.
That's only for certain equipment though, right, Jimmy?
Yes. So we do have that. So the heavy trucks, we do charge for that too. So I think we just need to make sure that our rates we have in that contract make sense. That's all we need to do, I think.
I think you can see from the chart that Mr. Morris put up that we have a significant receipt of revenue over our personnel costs. And I think that significant overage includes these other kinds of costs that have been weighted into there. I'm pretty sure we had a weighted cost to our rate when we did it. We only might need to check whether some of it might need to go up a bit for inflation, like for example, for the fuel cost or salt cost, both of which have gone up a bit. Quite a bit actually. So that would be my only concern. I think the depreciation and the wear and tear, the insurance, all that other part is all allocated into the rate.
Yes.
I don't have, I was trying to find the formula, but I can't find it under duress right now, but I think we do have it somewhere.
It is all, it was all supposed to be included.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure that the rate we have in that contract is still.
Yeah,
good.
the only one that I think, if we think there's going to be a significant shortfall in the rate that we're charging because of the increase in the price of fuel or salt, those are the two variables that I think would need to be checked. The other ones are pretty well encoded into the fee that we already charge.
The other thing you need to check is whatever you're going to negotiate in the new contract agreement with our union. So I think in the past, whenever we had a contract negotiation coming up and we had an agreement with Chalfont, we had some language in there that said that these rates may be adjusted pending what the agreement, the negotiated agreement is.
Yes, correct. We did that in the past. We have to do that again because we haven't even started negotiating with them yet. But next year we will have a new rate. Yes.
Right.
Let me just let me say one thing, please. This is all well and good. I mean, looking at salary rates, and I mean, you're comparing maybe relatively lighter years of time where they've had to work. If you get a heavy snowstorm or whatever, it will increase the cost. But saying that the extra money there, the difference between what we've paid out and what the contract fee covers everything, without actually seeing the formula that was used to calculate it, the insurance, the depreciation, the fuel, et cetera, doesn't help me to just, say it covers it. I think we should actually see the formula.
First, I'm not saying that this is profit. Don't get me wrong.
No, I didn't think you
Second,
did.
I'm handicapped because throughout the years, I've never been involved in the negotiation other than to give them numbers like this. Whoever negotiated it, the lead negotiator handled all of it. I have no idea what formula he used. I don't know if he got numbers from somebody else or not.
We didn't use a formula. We just used commercial rates.
Okay.
So whenever someone hires commercial snow plowing company, they charge you for their equipment too. So I think Jimmy helped us to get commercial rates. So we based it on commercial rates, and those commercial rates, companies, they are for profit. They put everything into their rates, insurance, depreciation, all that stuff. So there's no fancy formula. It was just, we looked at commercial entities, how much they charge.
Yeah, I still think that would be helpful for us to have a formula that we've created that takes into consideration all those other costs that we're encountering, just to make sure that it agrees with whatever the commercial rate is.
But I think we should still communicate to Chalfont that our intent is to keep going with that agreement, to take out that extra work, and that we just working on those rates. Maybe they're not even interested. I doubt it. I think they want to stay with us, but we should at least communicate to them that we are intending to keep the same agreement in place, minus that optional work, and that we are looking into the rates. So they at least get to know what we're doing.
I think that we have to move forward with this. The other thing is that currently Chalfont is allowing us to use, I believe it's called a slider. And if we terminate this contract, we're going to have to buy one or rent one or something. And that piece of equipment is about $120,000, according to the numbers that I've gotten. So that's one of the other variables that's not as easy to see. Perhaps Jimmy will be able to give us some additional details on that and let us know if he feels that these numbers that we're charging are in line, above or below the cost of the Public Works Departments. Jimmy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit about the slider?
Yeah, it's a skid steer machine. It's like a Bobcat. And since we took over the contract with them, they let us use it. We have it actually in our garage. And we probably use it a couple times a week for different things, for like loading a small amount of material. We just had it on a job up on Concord Road where we were fixing the road edge, and it come in very handy. So like Mr. Watkins said, we would either have to rent one or purchase one if you folks decide not to go with shelf one again, because we use it a good bit.
I wonder how much it would cost to rent one. Maybe we should look into that.
I can find out. I rented one for myself, and I was paying, that was 2 years ago, because I've got a different machine now, but I was paying $1,200 a month, and I'm sure it's probably up around $1,500, but I can find out for you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Jimmy, do you feel that the other charges in this contract with Chalfont are reasonable?
I'm not sure. I really didn't. I haven't seen the charges for. I'd want to take another look at it. I don't want to say yes or no to that, if that's all right.
That's fine. So we'll have to get something together where we can get all of the parties involved in this together and see if the charges are reasonable, or if we need to dramatically increase or just scrap it all together. Any other questions?
No.
Yes, Jimmy.
Yeah, when we're doing these worksheets, like there is the hourly wages and stuff on there, and I think we because Steve will tell you, because of Annie leaving, we're getting ready to start up again for 2022 on these, and so I would think that, you know, it's up to you folks to come up with a certain percentage increase for sure, you know, but that's all.
All right. Okay, Ms. DeMarco, would you like to make any comments regarding the sidewalk upgrade funding? Funding that's available?
We are waiting for a grant award announcement on the grant from the DCED. We have not received any notice. I talked to Jay Costa about it on Sunday, and he said they're not planning to make any grant awards while they're in the middle of the budget mess. They have to vote on the budget, and then they're probably not going to announce awards on these grants until after the election. So this will be in next year's construction period at the soonest.
Okay, thank you. So I believe that is it for Public Works.
Okay, I have Borough Property up next, and I'm ready to go. Okay, two things. The third item is just a reminder. I have been working on the Centennial Clock Grant, as you know, trying to get a bid spec put together, and I think I have it completed. What I did was attached components of that to this agenda, so you folks could take a look at it and see if I'm missing anything. I tried to take into account the stuff that you had asked me about when I first brought this up earlier in the year or later last year, whenever that was. But I wanted you to take a look at it because, again, this is something I've never did a specification for. I'm mimicking other bid specs that we've done. What I'd like to do is have you take a look at the notes I have attached here. I'll put it on the agenda again in August to see if you have any feedback on that. And if you're good to go with it or have any additions or changes, I would add them and then ask you to approve the authorize me to go out for bids at the August business meeting.
I'd just like to ask two quick questions, Steve, if I could.
Sure.
Under the post clock 10 feet tall, there's a bullet point that asks about mechanical or electronic for the mechanism for the clock itself. I'm just not sure what that means.
Well, some actually have a mechanical, like a watch would have. Oh, I don't have a watch on. I had my watch on before. I took it off. But it would have like a mechanical, regular analog type watch with springs and I don't know what. Look at the wristwatch repair on YouTube. You'll enjoy it. And I can't explain that any more than that. Others is more like I don't want to say it's digital, but it's more electronic. It's not really any parts per se, as much as it is whatever they put in their diodes or electrodes or I don't know. Angela would know what all that stuff is. I don't. So that's the difference. It would still have the same kind of face that you saw that I reprinted actually on the agenda. Still have the same kind of hands on there.
Huh? Then don't go out.
So that's
You don't
what
go
I
out there and
that's the
get struck by
difference.
lightning.
And different companies use different methods. Some use both, some use one or the other. So I just put it in there as an option.
Sounds like we need a clockmaker to answer this, so I won't belabor the point.
Watch wristwatch revival on YouTube. It's really fascinating.
I will. Thank you.
I've been trying to get a battery replaced on my wristwatch and it's driving me nuts. Nobody does it anymore.
Wait till you see this and it'll be a lot easier to replace that battery after you see what this guy does.
And I have a grandfather clock that needs to be cleaned and nobody does it anymore either.
And Barb, you want to
I
ask
don't,
me something
I don't
else?
think we want to. I don't think we want a mechanical clock. We want an
No,
electric one.
it should be electric. I came from a family of watchmakers, so I'm familiar with all that, but yeah, I think it's electronic.
So only electronic.
Yep.
All right, I'm making that note. Barb, you had another question?
Yes, just real quick. I noticed under the requirements that it indicates that bid must include a minimum of 3 references from municipal customers who have purchased similar clocks. Do so many municipalities have these that would be readily available, do you think?
Oh, there's a lot of them out there.
Oh, is that
I mean,
right? Okay.
If you look on their website, look at some of the pictures I put up there. Those are all municipal clocks, pretty much. There were a lot more. And Verdin, VERDIN in particular, does a lot of municipalities and as well as businesses and others. If you want to go on VERDIN's website.
I don't know why I was thinking of local municipalities. I understand you're looking at the broad scope. So yes, that would certainly be something we'd want. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Morris.
Okay, you're welcome. So anyway, I will put that one change on there, but please look at this and then let me know. I'll put it on again in August. Let me know if you have any other changes. Item B,
Steve, what is the time frame? We had a grant extension for this.
end of June of 2023.
Okay, so we have time to let this go another month. Otherwise, we can act on it in July.
No, I'd rather have people look at this. I'm really leery about this bid spec. I was supposed to get help from one of the companies and they declined after a
Okay.
while. And I mean, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm doing this based
Okay.
on what I'm reading online.
Okay.
Maybe Angelo should be doing this since he has that background. I don't know, but so please take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the second item, Iron Mountain Storage. I'm working with them. The biggest hangup right now is getting them to get me the supplies I need. The crew did go over and do some improvements in the basement of the rec lodge. So they spread the boxes out so we can see which ones are good and which ones are bad. And after looking at what Iron Mountain does, I'm almost hesitant to give them any of our boxes. But in any case, we're going to replace bad boxes with new. And we also are getting the barcode system and something called transmitter sheets from Iron Mountain. They're not expensive. They're like $7.20 per 10 strips of barcode. So I need to get all that done, and I need to get everybody, I need to get anybody over there who has a box to see what we need to move and make sure it's all on our list. And at the same time, Annette in our office is working on the smaller area in the borough building that has permanent files, which we're also going to move. A lot of those are not boxed though right now. They are in file cabinets that are very old. So she's working on doing that at the same time. So we have multiple things going on here at one time. I was hoping that I could tell you at the end of June that we were ready to go, but Iron Mountain delayed in getting me stuff. I just talked to them today and they're supposed to be sending it out now. I had hoped to have it by now. Unfortunately, I don't. We did order our own boxes that were cheaper, but also sturdier from one of the local vendors. I'm not sure which, it might've been Staples, but we did order better boxes similar to what they have at Iron Mountain, and these are much cheaper. So that's what I'm waiting on. When we get ready to go over and do the boxing or the logging and all that, anybody who wants to come and join us, you're welcome to come and do that. Because it's going to be time consuming.
I'll be there.
Right, that'll be a big help. That's all I have to report unless you have any questions for me. I'm done then.
Okay. Okay, then, moving on, Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you. Just have a few items. First of all, there's no change on the pickleball court painting. That'll be done when the paving project starts next month. The blight remediation grant, I did get more information on that. The question last month was when does it expire and can we change the address? And we got this grant May of 2021. It's $19,800 to demolish 21 Marion Avenue. Harrisburg said that the grant does not expire until June of 2023, but the address cannot be changed. So in light of this, I would suggest we just wait and see. The property is still up for sale. I don't know what the prospects are for it to be sold, but we do have a year, or a little less than a year, 11 months to decide what we want to do. So I would suggest we revisit this. I'll keep it on my report and we can revisit it from month to month and see if there's any sale of the property or anything else happens there that the condition gets worse, or if it's sold and gets better. The next item is the bird sanctuary observation deck. I was able to finally get a response out of the contractor that has the job. He said that he was starting a new deck today, a new residential deck today. He just finished one last Thursday, and that we are next on the list. So I would say that his schedule from last month, where he said mid to late July, would be still accurate as far as when he's going to start that deck. The Westinghouse Lodge, I submitted a revised summary of work needed at the site. Council may want to hire an architect for some of these projects. The other ones we can handle as engineer. The bids for the HVAC system are due July 13th, next week. So far, we don't have any bidders. Nobody's taken out the bid specs. I did contact Siemens to see if they could stir up some interest in this project. And I will get a hold of some other contractors for the traditional gas and electric HVAC systems and see if we can get some quotes. There's some bids in there. And the only other thing I have is the pool sign, which was tabled at the last meeting. And I believe that Councilman Baiocchi is working on getting us some more quotes for that. That's all I have.
Okay, does anyone have any comments?
I have a question. Mr. Gilliland, have you heard anything from John Zeller about the status of the Siemens report on the energy audits of the borough buildings? I understood they were going to be done at the end of June. Have we heard from them?
I have not. I have not gotten any information from them.
Okay.
Mr. Baiocchi, did you have anything you wanted to add about the pool signs? Any updates?
I sent, I contacted 6, actually 7, but one works with one of the other local sign companies. So there are 6 requests that are out there. I've gotten 2 back. I've gotten feedback from the other 4 that they're waiting for some other information before they send us a quote. So hopefully we'll have something by the next meeting.
Okay, very good then. Thank you, Mr. Gilliland. Did anyone else have any questions or comments? Then we'll definitely move the pool sign to next month, and hopefully we'll hear that the bird sanctuary observation deck has been completed by next month.
Hopefully, or at least well underway.
For sure. Thank you. Did you have anything, Mr. Thielacker? Is he still with us, Jimmy?
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay, thank you. I would like to report the Environmental Advisory Council is having on Saturday, July 16th, another Save Our Parks project. This is the second iteration. We're meeting at the main park at 9 o'clock in the morning. We hope to be finished by 12, and I'm inviting all council members to attend, your families and friends, and come on down and chop some Japanese knotweed. So thank you.
I noticed that the community day, they did the little rubber duck race, and people were on the edge of the stream there. There was no knotweed in sight. I mean, what we did actually helped a lot. Any that's there is going to be little like this. So it was really exciting to see that, because they haven't been able to do anything on the edge of that stream for a long time. So it works.
We'll keep after it.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
keep after it.
And Bob, could you please send us an email just like a week or so ahead of it, so we have it in writing?
Yes, and I will request to Mr. Morris that this be added. I'll do the verbiage that we have onto the website and also on Savvy Citizen again. I'll provide that information.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, the committee business report. The Westinghouse Lodge repairs. We've certainly seen the estimates. I know we're still waiting to get further reports, but I ask that everybody gets a chance to take a look at that, because pretty soon, I'm sure we want to start budgeting.
I have a question to Mr. Gilliland. If we hire an architect, which I think you have a point, I was thinking myself, it's a lot of stuff. How much do they charge? Like 5% typically? What's their fee? I think
I'm not familiar with their cost systems.
so.
Would any of that come under the umbrella of the things we're doing with Siemens?
Lots of it will.
So that's what I thought, that some of it would come under that contract that we already have.
That's true.
So maybe we should look at putting out a bid for this stuff that isn't already covered under that contract.
Yep. All right.
What would we expect the architect to look at then that we would get bids on?
No, we would basically hand it off, like how Mr. Gillian does road paving for us. He does all the little details. We would have an architect handling all the work, all the dealing with our contractors and doing all that, babysitting them, making sure they do the right stuff. But typically, like Mr. Gillian, architect would charge us like, I don't know, like a percentage of the overall cost.
I would imagine, or an hourly rate.
Okay.
Okay.
But Patty's idea, Siemens, they're kind of like an architect. So they would charge us same thing. They charge us like a whatever fee they had. So we can have all the stuff what Siemens is doing, electric work, plumbing system. Siemens should handle all that stuff. And then we only need to handle painting, stuff like that. But Siemens won't be in the scope for the Siemens contract. So I think we should pretty much ask Mr. Gillian what he can handle, what Siemens can handle, and see what's left over.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think we should have a meeting with John Zeller and Dave and Jimmy and look at this list and see if we can come out with a plan to be most cost efficient as possible. Because, we're going to have to budget some of this. And I think it'd be good to avoid overlap and to see if we can consolidate this necessary work as expeditiously as possible among the people we already have on board, and then hire out what's left over. But I'd like to sit down and have a meeting about that. I don't know how you feel about that, Barb, but I think even if we just got John and Dave on the Zoom together with Jimmy and talk about it, I think it'd be a lot more efficient than trying to do it one by one.
Mr. Morris? Patty suggested we get a meeting together with Siemens and Mr. Gilliland and Mr. Thielacker, and to discuss what the architect would do, how much Mr. Gilliland's firm would be doing with the Westinghouse Lodge repairs. Is that something that you could set up for us?
Sure. Do you want me to email everybody to ask for dates, in other words?
Yeah, get a doodle poll or something so that we can, find a good date to do that pretty soon. That would be
Okay.
helpful.
Okay, I want to double check with you who else should be involved, but Zeller, Patty, Dave Gillen, you want Jim
Jimmy.
involved too, Jim Thielacker, I think you said
Yes.
too. Barb, would that involve you as well?
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
okay, so 5 people, yeah.
And me,
Okay.
Marcus, would you like to be there as well?
No, I'm good. You can report back. But we all need a list, like the timeline. Some work needs to be done before other work. We pretty much have like a list of the order, so we can really start tackling things after the ending season is over.
we need a Gantt chart, that's all. We need a task list.
Yes,
No problem.
but it needs to be ordered by, obviously painting will be last.
Yeah.
But it needs to be like that. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other comments on that before I move on?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Next item up is the concrete and landscaping work at the 4400 building. I had met with Mr. Morris and Jimmy, and we walked around the Borough building and checked some of the landscaping. And we looked at, if you'll notice, there's 2 grassy strips, and then in between them is the entrance to the library. And those grassy strips didn't seem to be looking like they liked being grass. Jim informed us that when the building was designed, they requested a 5-foot wide sidewalk, only got 4. So when they take snow off, one of the tires goes on the grass, and now there's no grass there. There's just a big rut. So we discussed eliminating the grass and putting concrete there on 2 areas. Jimmy suggested that Benny would be able to do this work. It would certainly make that entrance look much nicer. Now it's just dead grass and a rut. There would also be a nice curb there, which would prevent people. I see people pull up, they jump out of their car, dump books into the library, return, and drive off. This way, I think it would prevent that. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're not going to get anything to grow in that location. It's just a hostile environment for anything to grow in that particular strip. I agree with you.
Yeah, we looked at it and decided that it would just look so much nicer. So I think we'll go ahead with that whenever they can get that, Public Works can get that on the schedule. The landscaping work, I've been in contact with the landscaper now, and there's one person doing a tremendous amount, a very big job. And it seems as it's starting to look a little shaggy there. So the question came up, would our budget be better served by having people come in that aren't landscapers, perhaps to do some of the work? I know it's very hard to get any landscaper I know to weed. So there's been some suggestions that perhaps the garden club could do some of this. And a suggested list of things to do would be weeding, pruning, clipping, watering, fertilizing, trimming, and mulching. Currently, there isn't any mulch there. As soon as an area is weeded, it just keeps growing up with weeds. And it's just a never-ending battle. Additionally, there would be planning and scheduling, plant selection as well. I know there's no water source there, but
there is in the public works garage at the very end. There's a hose attachment, but it doesn't go all the way around the building, and it doesn't go across the parking lot. Because when I've tried to water up there, you have to carry buckets from the end of the hose.
yeah. And that's not something that the landscaper is going to do. Mr. Morris?
Well, we do intend to add a watering, a pipe or something to the back side of the building as well for water. I don't know why they didn't do that originally. We just haven't been able to do it yet, but we do have money to afford to do that from the building fund.
Okay, thank you. Well, currently the landscaping contract we have for this year, but those would be suggestions for next year. And then for larger work, perhaps we could bring in, I know Plumline Nursery, large trees and shrubs can be purchased. They'll deliver them and install them. If you think this might be a better way, I could look and start getting some prices and work things out. But I just think it might serve us more efficiently to have this done by other people. Yes, Marcus.
Obviously, Bob, you're the master gardener. I'm not. So I think you probably have the most expertise on council. If you're willing on leading that project, I would do whatever you recommend. You know better than I do.
Thank
So
you.
if you have garden club members who want to do an hourly reading on hourly rate, I rather keep the money in Forest Hills. So I would be in favor of that too. Mr. Morris had something to say.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah, the only other thing, just to remind you, is that the current agreement with the current landscaper ends at the end of this year, really technically end of November.
Mhm.
So you would also have to decide, you can decide then, essentially any time now between now and the end, how you want to handle that, whether you want to formally go out for bids for another landscaper. If that's the case, you'd want to do that probably fairly soon, although I'm sure Ms. Martin, as the expert, would know better than me. But I'd like Ms. Martin to take the lead. I've been kind of doing some of this with the help of Ms. DeMarco in the past, and with you being a master gardener, I mean, that's, a no-brainer. Somebody who's much more intelligent. We just need to decide whether you're going to actually formally hire somebody, do bits and pieces, or what. The money would come from the building fund still. It's not coming from the general fund or any of the other funds. There is still that money left in the building fund. So just so you're aware of that. You want to think about how you want to do it so you're ready to go at whatever time period you want to have something done.
And Bob, if you have interested people in the garden club who want like 2 or 3, I don't know how many you need, we could just hire them as temp workers like we do all the time. It would be like public works temp workers, and they could do the work. So we have ways to do it. We just need to find people who are willing to do it. It sounds
Okay.
better than hiring a landscape company, and then, like you said, do stuff on hourly rate, and then maybe if you want to plant big trees, just go directly to the nursery, have like a patchwork, but you obviously have to manage it more than what we normally would do with a landscape company.
Okay, well, that gives me some more information, and I think I'll be able to come up with something for next time. If we could just add that into next month, please. Okay, thank you. Anything else on that? Okay, then moving on, the connecting door and upper wall between the library and the community room. Just note, Steve has already contacted the architect and he's waiting for a phone call to meet about it.
Yeah, you would ask me about doing that. I have a couple issues to bring up with them, so we can pin down exactly why that is set up. Well, I know why it's set up the way it is, but what can we actually do something to remove that problem so that we can have better sound or less noise, something like that. But as soon as I hear from him, I'll let you know. We keep going back and forth.
Okay, well, if you hear something, please let us know. Thank you.
I
Okay.
guess the question, is it the intention that we permanently close off that connecting feature between the library and the community room, or do we still hope that it can on occasion be opened for joint use of that space?
Mr. Morris?
My suggestion is close it off. I mean, there's always the door in the hallway they can use to get in.
Yes.
You know, the sound is going to be a problem, whether you have, if you just eliminate the top, you're still going to have a sound problem at the bottom. Those doors do not seal.
And the library doesn't seem to use them as, you know, they have stuff on the other side of the door. They
Right.
can't have the door
Right.
more blocked. So I
Right.
think it should be our intent to get rid of the door and add the soundproofing, whatever you have to do on the top of the wall.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, we've already discussed the pool sign. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Okay, give me a second here and we'll go right to public safety. Just one second.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Right.
Hi, Dave. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think public safety is up next. And I'm ready to go. And I have no report, Mr. Bioki. So you can
Okay.
bypass me.
All right, thank you. The EMS report is attached as well as the police report. So we can move on. I'd like to skip over number 3 and just go down to the chief's reports. So if anyone has a report, Chief Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Bioki. First off, I just wanted to mention we just had the 4th of July at the park. We had a very good attendance down there. We did some fingerprinting for some young children. Our department was well represented down there. A few of the officers were walking around talking to the community members that were there. I had an opportunity to talk to quite a few people. Again, you know, this is a really good thing for us in the police department when it comes to community and public relations. We have an opportunity to talk to people in a different setting that is much nicer than some of the settings we have to show up at their home for. So that, I just wanted to mention that's kind of one of the nice things we get to do compared to some of the things we have to do in other situations. That's all I have about that.
Thank you, Chief Williams.
Thank you.
Assistant Chief Thielacker, anything on fire?
Yeah, Mr. Colella is on vacation. We'll have a report for you next month in August, for sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, down to committee business. First item I have is the Chalfont contract for the police. The only thing that I have, and it's very similar to the discussion we had with the borough property, I'm sorry, Public Works, is that the fees that are being charged currently cover the cost of a patrolman's salary. But what's it appears is missing is any cost involved for fuel or wear and tear on the vehicles. So unless my committee members have anything else to add, I would just like to get some additional information on that. And then once we have that information, move that to either committee of the whole or move it to council for a final disposition.
Yeah, I agree with that, if I may.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, I think one of the things that the council needs to be aware of is that there are insurance, particularly workman's comp issues, that costs that may or may not be accrued by us doing what we do in Chalfont. Generally, it seems to be a low maintenance issue, but nonetheless, our workman's comp issues are very expensive. Insurance issues are very, very high. And I think we need to fold that into our charges into Chalfont. You may not agree, but that's my thought.
Okay, I agree. So we'll move this to look at this again next meeting, and in the meantime, we'll get some final numbers on the cost. Chief Williams, did you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you've covered that pretty well. And I agree with Mr. Lawrence on looking at those additional costs that maybe need to be rolled into this. I don't know. Again, I wasn't involved in any of the, the negotiations or how we came to these pricing points. So again, I agree with what Mr. Lawrence just spoke about.
Okay, thank you. Next item is.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Watkins.
Yeah, who was involved in the negotiation on both of these two contracts?
I was.
If I can.
It was years ago, 10 years ago at least, we did that. And we did, at the time, we did research with Chief Williams and Jimmy Seelacker, the had rates, and we kept increasing the rates. We just have to really do a deep dive and make sure all those rates still make sense.
Yep. For calendar year 2022, the information that we received in June shows that what we're charging is $63,172, and I believe that includes some other charges, not just the basic salary, but some other costs as well. Just want to make sure that it's going to be the same for calendar year 2023.
And again, Chalfont is different than public works in my mind. In order to be an efficient police department, you can't go much smaller than we are right now. Like Edgewood, I don't know how they do it. They're half the size of, but they have the same size police department, more or less. So for us, it just makes sense to be more efficient. So the police, I think, is a different story than public works.
For the next two items, traffic regulations and traffic calming that are on the agenda, I'd like to just fold those two together, if I may. I sent a few documents out to the members of my committee for review. These are some suggestions for changes to a variety of items that are listed under traffic regulations, and some suggestions for traffic calming. So what I would like to do, if there's no objections from anyone from my committee, is I would like to, with one item, move that to our next meeting. I would like to send these documents out to everyone that's on council, all elected officials, police chief, Mr. Gilliland, as well as, the chief I already mentioned, and Mr. Corbel, just to make sure that some of the things that I'm proposing in those documents are doable. The one exception is there's a section there which I'm calling signs, warning signs, safety signs. I would like to pull that out and send that to everyone before our next committee of the whole meeting, because I think it would be useful and desirable to have some of those signs looked at, purchased, and installed sooner rather than later. And this goes with what Mr. Burley requested at the last few meetings as well. So without objection, I would like to do that.
Angelo, I'm not on your committee, but I know we just adopted a complete streets policy, which does also give some support for these kinds of actions. A 35-mile road has options available that are not available on a 45 or 50-mile road. So I will get in touch with Stephanie Spang at the DOT and find out what options might be available to us now that the speed limit will be lowered on that road on Ardmore.
Right. Thank you. There is, I've been delving into the PA state regulations, so I've been learning more than I actually care to know about traffic regulations. Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be helpful. But a lot of these signs would be on our borough streets. Some of them would be applicable to the state roads as well. One of the things I like up on Greensburg Pike, they have signs that they apparently recently installed where they show the name of the upcoming intersection. I think that would be very useful on Ardmore Boulevard as well. So, but anyway, that's what I would like to do. So,
No,
Mr.
that's fine.
Watkins or Mr. Lawrence?
No, that's fine. I think the next thing is to look at the important, God forbid the term constituencies, but yes, the chief and the Mr. Corbel should step in and say there are things that we can and cannot do, and we'll get their input and they'll be valuable. So
Okay.
sounds good to me.
All right, great. Anyone else? Mr. Watkins? Yeah. You're on mute.
I'd like a little bit more discussion on the signs on the upcoming streets. I think that everybody, a lot of people who are not familiar with the upcoming streets are already using GPS to tell them where to turn. So I don't know if that would just be adding additional clutter and additional street signs and additional material that's just not there.
Okay, well, we're going to, like I said, I'd like to move that part to committee of the whole so we could have an additional discussion.
All right,
Thank you.
sure.
That concludes my report.
That's it for this committee, in other words?
Yes,
Okay, and you do want the traffic, I'm sorry, the sign, warning sign issue on committee of the whole for next week, correct?
yes, please.
Okay, I'm just gonna do that. Give me a second and then we'll start ops and policy. As soon as I get that set up on committee of the whole. Okay, I'm good with ops and policy, Mr. Lawrence, if you're ready to begin.
All righty, go ahead.
All right, I just have some reminders, announcements, really nothing in tremendous detail. I had been putting on here about the fact that Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority, our board representative is up at the end of December, just as a reminder so we don't forget it. And in the meantime, Ms. Braz happened to contact the office to say she was interested in council continuing or reappointing her if it was okay with council. So I just want to let you know that that's the only news I have on that. I'll keep that on there toward the end of the year. You'll need to make a decision or find somebody.
Let's just put that on for when we need to vote to put her on for another term.
Okay, yeah, I'll put that on for later this year.
Yeah, I don't have a question on that one.
Okay. The item B, Savvy Citizen. We have gotten several signs promoting Savvy Citizen. You may have seen them. No, there's not a lot of them, but we can move them around. They're similar to the small signs you sometimes put up for political signs or what have you that go in with a wire frame into the ground. And we got Savvy Citizen created those for us. They're also creating a banner, 4 foot by 4 foot banner, similar to those signs that we could also move in various locations. The numbers we had last I saw was a little over 1,200 people. And again, I'm told from them that about 65% of those are actual Forest Hills residents. That's what I'm seeing on there right now.
Okay.
Item C, codification.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, on Savvy Citizen, I'm out of town, so I'm not connecting too much to the internet these days. What did Savvy Citizen post about the 4th of July events? What do we have up there? Just tell me, I don't know.
I had the community day. Actually, I tried to get more information from the community day organizers. Every year I go through this and they never send me anything, but I did put on there a week or so in advance that the community day was coming. It would be an all-day event at the main park. Come for fun and enjoy, etc. That was on Savvy Citizen, so it also went on the calendar on the borough's website. And I know Mr. Baoki has other stuff on there as well on the website.
Well, I had a question for my committee members and you also. As we push forward and perhaps move away from the Tree City Times, would this have been the place to also post actually the list of events for the entire day for this?
Could have, yes. Yeah, I wanted to get them, and I'd asked them. Asked for them.
The input.
Yeah, I didn't. I asked for them a month or so ago, and never got anything. So
well, that's frustrating.
Yeah,
that's frustrating.
I mean, I know they mail them out and all that, but I'd like to make sure I have something official from the people putting it
together.
Does
anyone have any thoughts that Savvy Citizen could be the place where, 3 days before we post from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, these are all the things that are going on July 4th?
Yeah, I mean, we can also just post the attachment, the schedule they send out as an attachment. That's not a problem either.
Well, that's my suggestion, but my committee members, your thoughts?
I agree. I think that's probably the best use of Savvy Citizen when you can do that sort of thing. What we don't want to have happen is have folks have Savvy Citizen and then say, "Gee whiz, I'm not getting the things I really need." Like, I wish I had that information. It would just reinforce its use.
Okay. Do you think maybe that's a road we can go down? Because if we do weed ourselves, get ourselves away from the Tree City Times, that may be the place that stuff's going to have to go.
Yes, and we are putting community events of all kind on there. For example, if a block is doing a yard sale, we put that on there. If one person is doing a yard sale, we don't include that. But if a group of people are doing something, we put that on there. So just as an example,
okay,
is all I need is the information. The Garden Club has had things on there a couple of different times. I just need the information. If they send it to me, I could cut and paste it easily enough and get it on. And
as we said before, we need protocols for what we're going to allow and not allow on this site, but I think we have a lot of opportunities we're missing, and maybe the committee members can think about that for the next couple months, and we can move forward, because I think this was an example of where we could have put things out. And I agree with you, Steve. It'd be great if we had that stuff up there.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thanks.
The codification, I'm sorry, yes, the codification update's been ordered. We thought we might do it last year, so we didn't. So we have, of course, the money from last year and as what we budgeted in the capital improvements plan this year to do it. Cost estimate is $7,170. And it doesn't seem like sometimes some people don't think it's that important. Believe me, when somebody contacts us and they say, they're looking for a zoning matter or what have you, and there's a new ordinance that maybe amended the zoning ordinance as an example, they can't find that as easily, but when they're looking at the full codification, it's built right into that. So the company will be doing that for us, updating the website, as well as getting us hard copies for our books that we have in the various locations. So they have all our updated ordinances from the last time that we did this, or probably about maybe a dozen of them, maybe a little bit more than that, are going into this. And the couple of them are zoning related too, which tend to be a little bit more complicated. So it's good to get that on there. It's a lot better for everybody concerned.
Okay.
To see that in one place. That's
And
all
may
oh, go ahead.
May I ask a question? And this falls in the HR committee, so we won't go into any detail here tonight. But there are things in the ordinances that are quite old regarding HR policies that need to be addressed. This codification is outside of that issue, right?
Well, for now, you would have to amend the ordinance with another
Right.
ordinance. So, yeah, until you do that, it stays where it is.
So what does,
I just-
so what does
that's
this
all.
codification review actually cover, Steve?
Anything that's a newer ordinance since the last time we did their codification is put in its proper place in the code. So it's all in one place.
So
So-
that would include the comp plan and all the other things that we did
No,
update.
only things that were done in an ordinance. Only ordinances.
all-
This is a code of ordinances. That's what a codification is.
So Steve, if I could ask, so as amendments are made to the ordinances, they do not find their way onto that website until
No.
this happens?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm fading out here, but at least on my screen, I'm fading out.
I thought my eyes were going for a
No, I
minute.
look like a ghost. Maybe actually I look better. But anyway, no, they have a separate section for updated ordinances.
Okay,
The problem is, people need to look at that. And even our own people sometimes forget to do that at first, especially when it comes to zoning. Because zoning is very complicated. So there is an updated section there. It's just a question of will people look at it? And they don't always. But it's not cost effective to do this every time you update an ordinance. It just would be too expensive to have that done. You wait till you get a number of them together. I probably should have done it last year. That would have been better than waiting till this year. But regardless,
That's
you
okay.
should get them together in a bunch and then have them done at one time.
Mhm.
So unless you have like a major zoning, amendment or something else like that. Again, this is a code of ordinances. It's a code. It's the borough law.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds good.
that's all I have. I just put a reminder on there about the list of policies I'd given you. I don't know where you want to go with that, but I'll just keep reminding you until you tell me to stop reminding you. I don't have anything
That's
else though to add.
Yeah, yes, under B2 committee business report, may I? A member of council had brought up two members of council brought up our invasive plant ordinance, and I invite them to speak on the issue. That we have a little bit of a hole in our invasive plan that may be a problem. Or if they don't want to, we can push it out till next month.
Barb, were you going to, would you like to say something?
I thought that was you.
It was me, but I thought, since you're quite passionate about this, I thought maybe you'd do it.
Whichever, all of the above may speak.
Go ahead, Barb. I guess Barb doesn't want to speak.
I was saying, you go ahead first. Andy.
Okay, what we're proposing is an ordinance for weeds and noxious vegetation. Like many people, I've searched the code of ordinances for information about weeds. There's a very, very small mention about weeds in the code of ordinances that I could find. But basically, the U.S. has enacted a number of laws that have to do with invasive plants, trees, shrubs. The state of Pennsylvania also has a controlled plant and noxious weed act, and I think what we're asking is to make sure that we're in line with that, and as well, we would like to add something that's been spreading quite rapidly in the borough, and that's bamboo. So basically, the ordinance talks about noxious weeds and vegetation, but it also highlights maintaining bamboo regardless of the species, so that it doesn't spread and cause a problem. It's not only for neighboring properties, but it's going to start invading our waterways, and it's going to get onto borough property as well, if it hasn't already. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Can I
Okay.
make a
Yeah,
can I ask a question?
please, Barb, go ahead.
Basically, we have that ordinance that people have to mow their lawn if it's more than 4 inches, I believe. But sometimes people have like fancy grass, like some wildflower beds, and not weed at all, but it's more than 4 inches. And I wonder if that ordinance can clarify that. What is grass and what not? What is fancy and can stay, and what is just plain weed? I think it should be.
Can I help with that?
Yeah.
I'd like to speak to
Okay.
that, Jimmy.
Well, before you do, Barb and I talked about this. Yes, we have, if you don't cut your grass, at a certain point, you're going to get cited. Barbara and I did talk about, do we need more specificity in what's a lawn that's getting too high versus someone who's trying to avoid a weed, a lawn versus interesting plants, and that gets in discussion. And Barb can step in and speak to this after I'm done. I believe we thought that pretty much we don't have a problem in the borough where people are abusing the don't cut your grass thing and use it just to goo weeds. If they want to do something innovative and have a non-lawn front yard or backyard, Barb, you can speak to that. But I think that is a separate issue from what's being discussed tonight. Tonight is the question of invasive species, and the state mandates lists of invasive species. Unfortunately, it does not include bamboo in that list. So we're covered under state regulations, but we're proposing to add bamboo to that list, which is a different subject from the ones coming up about yards. So Barb, can you speak to the other issue?
I think Patty had a
Go ahead.
comment first, and then I'll be happy to.
Go ahead. I defer to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, definitely there's a big difference between weeds and invasive species. There was a question about, do we need an ordinance for no-mow lawns? And I had sent some pictures of people there. We're already actually doing that in the borough, and our code enforcement officer viewed them as well. And he agrees if a lawn is neat and weed-free, it's pretty much okay, whether it's a lawn, whether people are using stones or bricks in an attractive way. However, when we're talking about invasive species, whether the state indicates this or not, that doesn't mean that they won't include bamboo in the future. Weeds are really just a local problem that can be eradicated easily by just pulling them up. And some weeds are actually native and people leave them in their yards. But as long as things are neat, that's fine. With the problem gets into invasive plants are actually landscape level issues with ecological issues for not only the landowner themselves. For instance, Japanese knotweed is my big issue. Property owners, pretty soon, their value of their property could go down. Some people wouldn't even buy a home that has it all throughout there. Additionally, it takes away the food that birds have. They kill the trees. There's no longer life for insects or butterflies. And these are the things that are important to our ecology, first for the state and also for just natural beauty. So I would be all for this, to have some discussion about invasive plants, especially knotweed and particularly bamboo. Knotweed can be eradicated, but as far as I know, bamboo can only be controlled. And that's a real issue, especially if it goes onto another person's yard. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks. Mr. Marco?
Yes, I also have a concern about two other issues. One is the poison ivy. on the property of the Woodland Hills High School, they have such infestations of poison ivy growing up the trees that it has actively killed 2 of them, and there's one going to come down any minute. The branches of the poison ivy are an inch around, and it makes berries. And then the woodpeckers, who absolutely love them, are distributing poison ivy all over the neighborhood when they, fly to another tree and then plant the seeds. I think this is another one where, if people have a heavy growth of poison ivy in their hedges, in their trees, they really need to be encouraged to get rid of it because it spreads. And even though it is a wildlife berry, it is very noxious and a lot of people can't control it. So I'd like to make sure we add that to our list. And I'm concerned that we do whatever policy this is in a way that's sensitive to encouraging people to plant native plants in, multi-layered plantings rather than just plain grass from border to border with nothing else in it. I think those are basically ecological deserts for the most part. And if we can craft this in a way that encourages native plants and natural landscaping, we would be better off. I have to report also, I've had 3 different people come up to me that I don't even know, 2 of them at Community Day yesterday, ranting about the deer and talking about fencing. So I don't know to what extent tight hedges help with the deer problem, but I'm at my wit's ends, and I've talked to several people who are ready to just go out and start blasting at them with salt shotguns. It's getting to be a big problem.
I agree.
Mr. Lawrence?
Okay. So, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No,
No, I'm done.
Mr.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lawrence, if I may.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Patty was saying, though, I just want to make clear that the proposal was to have an ordinance against noxious weeds and then in particular bamboo. I understand the intent of wanting to encourage people to plant native plants and shrubs and that sort of thing, but that isn't really the intent of this particular ordinance proposal. I think that would be something else. This is basically saying, we need to control these weeds and we need to have a way to enforce it.
Yeah, I agree. So let me just correct me if I'm wrong in breaking this out. I think tonight we've got a proposal that we should, because the state does not list certain plants, let's not use the word weeds anymore because that's who knows. But certain plants are not good. And the most critical one people are concerned about is bamboo and perhaps poison ivy. So we would propose that Mr. Corbel could craft an amendment to our ordinance on the subject to specifically include bamboo and perhaps poison ivy if that's appropriate, and then list the way individuals are responsible for controlling it, even if it invades their own property, but they did not plant it. I think that's the first step we should go through. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, second, the issue of encouraging people to stop planting just grass lawns, and I'll go back to Barb Martin's discussion. We want to encourage people to do unique things and get rid of a lawn. I don't think we have a problem at this point. So my suspicion was, and Barb, you can follow up with and articulate this better than I did, Will, I believe that at this point, people who are trying innovative things are not basically find themselves in violation of any present ordinance. So if we try to get down to the craft an ordinance that specifies these things, we might get ourselves in more trouble than just being quiet on the subject and let it go. Barb, any thoughts?
I agree. We have to be real careful with this. I think we should limit it rather than have it be more inclusive in our language.
Yeah. At this point, people are doing what they're doing. So many of us have wicked hillsides. We're doing anything we can because we don't want to cut the grass. And none of us at this point have gotten into trouble. So let's just let it rest at this point. But I would like to propose we ask the borough attorney to try to craft an amendment to the ordinance that specifies bamboo, any critter like that, and poison ivy if you think that's appropriate. And if you guys think there's anything else we should include, let us know. And shall we go forward with that?
Jack, can I do one comment, please?
Sure, please.
I think we should actually go one step further and ask Steve to research ordinances other towns and cities and boroughs have in PA. I think we can already go one step further because he can look up those other ordinances and we can.
Mr. Erbaldinger, we actually looked at some, actually Barb found a couple.
Okay.
And we kind of crafted this along with what we did find, but it certainly would be beneficial to do another look.
Sounds good.
It sounds good. I mean, just to give credit to both Angela and Barb, I think they did a lot of research on this, what's going on in the other places in the state. But it doesn't hurt, and that's what Mr. Corbel is going to do anyhow. He's going to look at what's everyone else doing. So.
Yeah. Mr. Lawrence, we had some additional recommendations that went along with the proposal about continuing to, send our information to the state committee that considers these plants so that we could make sure that bamboo was an issue that kept getting raised so that they would include it on their list.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I think the critical thing is we're going to have to devise the ordinance so that even if you did not plant the bamboo, but it goes onto your property, you're now responsible for what happens. And that's what we have to work with Mr. Corbel on.
Right.
So, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Should that proposal be circulated to the other council members so they can read that as well?
Let's have Mr. Corbel draft an ordinance and then we can look at it in light of what you've already done.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on ops and policies tonight?
Just a question, do you want me to let Steve know? Do you want him to talk about a committee of the whole, or somebody else going to talk to him?
If you want to get, if you just want to give Steve a call when you get a chance and say, hey, this is where we're going with this, can he put something together?
Okay.
And he can perhaps, this is not urgent, but if maybe he could present that so we can look at it under ops and policies a month from now.
Okay.
But if that's a problem, yeah, please.
I would like to make a request that we investigate once again what our options are with the deer. I've had several people stop me, including myself being completely afflicted with annihilation of gardens with deer. And I know people are getting head up about it.
No, I apologize, Patty. You mentioned that. And
I know that we have limitations, and I know we did an ordinance at one time back in the past. I'm not sure if we've had any evaluation of whether it has been effective. And I don't know if there's any data about whether the size of the deer herd has increased significantly. I know there are people who feed them in my neighborhood. I don't know if there's something we can do at least to prevent that. But
we passed an ordinance.
Seriously,
we did pass
disturbing.
Forbidding that, but it may not being enforced because it's hard to catch someone doing it.
Yeah.
If you know someone is doing it, I would say you call Dawn and say, hey, look at this. I don't know. As far as committee folks and anyone on the council at this point, where would you like to go on this deer issue? We all know it's a problem, and anecdotally, it seems to be getting much worse.
Jack, may I speak, please?
Please.
I just wanted to point out that in Pennsylvania, the state owns the herd. So it's not what we decide. We would have to approach them and they give recommendations. I have heard from other communities that tried to sterilize. That doesn't really work.
No.
Birth control with deer, it doesn't work. So if you want to look at this hard, which I would love to as a gardener, since I spent a fortune on my yard, and I go around every rain and spray and do all these things, and they still eat my property. I mean, people are fed up, but we would have to make some hard decisions. And a lot of people look at them like pets, where, before it was only a food source, and now, oh, I love to see the deer. Well, they are nice to look at, but they do cause destruction of property, and it really should be looked at. But we need state guidance. Thank you for listening.
And people are putting up fences all over the place nowadays. And I think we're going to get more fences if we don't do something. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, I need someone's help because I don't know where we go to solve this problem.
I was just going to say, can I say something? Maybe we should actually lobby Jay Costa to do something on state, because Bob said it correctly. It's a state issue, not a Forest Hills issue. And maybe we should lobby Jay Costa. I'm not sure what the state can do. Can they raise more? Can they make it easier to get licenses? Can they increase a deer hunting season? Because the state has ways to do it. And I think we just need to lobby state.
Yeah. Mr. Erbaldinger, I think that would wind up really opening up a can of worms. We already have a number of property owners that are concerned about hunting on their property.
No, I didn't mean hunting in Forest Hills. I meant like hunting in PA. I think there's like a very restrictive hunting season. Like a hunter can only get one.
Well,
rules how much they can hunt.
Right, but
just double it.
Right, but once they open that up, that means additional hunting in Forest Hills as well. And
I don't think you can hunt in Forest Hills. So.
Yes, as long as it's on public property.
Yeah, we have a very, very restrictive rule that you can hunt in the park grounds. The issue is that most of the hunting is not going to occur in the urban and suburban areas like ours. So that's not a good way to cull the herd. I'm sure you've followed what they've tried to do in Mount Lebanon, which has been quite aggressive. And then you get into the Bambi issue, and that brings up a lot of people and gets them very fired up. It's a very taxing problem, and honestly, I don't even know what to do about it. If I could say, hey, this is a way we could go, I'd do it. Like, as you may have followed what Mount Lebanon has been trying to do in the last 4 to 5 years, and it's been tough.
And I'm not sure if deer act the same way wolves do, but when you try to reduce the herd, they wind up reproducing even more to get the herd back up. So again, I'm not sure that is what they do, but that happens in the wolf population.
There's been some discussion about that. I don't know, but the real fact is we can't solve the problem by hunting. And contraceptives aren't really good making, and it's a serious problem. You know, I would encourage you to do a little Google search on what Mount Lebanon has done in the last 5 years. It does raise the hackles of many, many people, and I don't know if it's worked or not, but I think they stopped their plans. That's all I can tell you. But I agree, it's taxing. So, well, let's leave it at that.
I think that whatever we do is going to be futile unless we get all of the surrounding communities to work together. I drive through a lot of different places. I see deer in Rankin that I refer to as urban deer. They will stand at the corner and wait for the light to change before they cross the street.
Oh no!
Yeah. So, all right.
we've
Yeah, I
got deer,
agree.
not just here in Forest Hills, but in all the surrounding communities. So even if we get rid of every deer here in Forest Hills, it's only going to be a matter of weeks or months or years before they're all back again.
No, it's a regional problem, and I think Mr. Marco brought up several years ago that the deer don't recognize when they cross from Wilkins into Forest Hills. So that being said, I think, you know, moving forward, if anybody can look and research and see if there's possible things to do, but in the meantime, I don't think that we can solve the problem tonight, so we'll probably end it on that one.
All right.
Anything else on policy?
All right.
Crickets, so I think Ops and Policies is done tonight, Mr. Morris.
Okay, I'm ending tonight's meeting. See everyone next Tuesday night, same time.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
Bye.
everybody. Good
Hey,
night.
good night.